Hello and welcome to Media BG TV. My name is Munya and I'm very excited to be speaking to Denise Duffield-Thomas today. Now, Denise is a money mindset mentor for women and she is the woman behind two amazing books, Lucky Bitch and Get Rich Lucky Bitch, which I have right here. It's
Oh,
yes.
I love it.
She really helps. She does so many things. She's also a speaker and she is the woman behind the very successful, may I say, $1 million course that helps women to boost through their limitations around money and overcome their fear of money. Now, I'm very excited. I'm not going to say too much more, because I just want to say welcome, Denise.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, thank you for taking the time. Now, Denise, you're one of those people I came across you about like more than a year ago, and I was in business for about a year, and I had never really heard of this whole money mindset stuff, and I have to say you've really changed my life. And the reason I'm so happy to be able to talk to you is because there are so many women out there who are still in the daily rat race, struggling, not really stepping into the true potential, and I just want them to know that there's people like you out there who are, who've made it and who've achieved what they want to achieve in a really playful and practical way. So can you just tell us, for those of us and people watching who don't know what money blocks and this whole money mindset stuff is, can you just explain what that is and what you do?
Absolutely. So what I found from starting out as a life coach and business coach was that women kind of had everything from the outside. It looked like they had everything they needed to be successful. Their marketing was good, their product was good, they were great at what they did, but there was something holding them back from making a success out of their business. And, I explored it from a lot of different ways. I was like, well, maybe their goal isn't right. Maybe they just don't have really good goals, or maybe they don't have, knowledge of the law of attraction or something like that. But what I really discovered was that for women, it was all mental and it was all emotional stuff around money. And it was all these stories and beliefs that they were telling themselves every single day about money, or they were completely unconscious stories about money. And all of that stuff was really preventing them from accepting money into their life, from asking for money from their clients, from having awkward money conversations when clients defaulted, or they had to have some sort of discussion around money. And all that stuff I realized was all mindset around money. And I think, I've spoken to weight loss coaches and they say the same thing. They say it's not just about the food, it's not just about the exercise, it's all about the mindset. And I'm sure if you speak to any coach specializing in anything, they will say the same thing. It's all about the mindset, and you get that right, and then everything else follows from that.
Amazing. That's it sounds so easy, and actually one of the things that I have seen is that actually I have a lovely beautiful 20-euro note here. I had it lying around in my house, and I was like, I never paid attention to money and like actually appreciated it, and and I'm like, why do we have so much ickiness around it? Like, what is it? It's actually just a piece of paper, but why do we, especially women, get so afraid of asking for it, feel guilty, feel afraid? And why do we do that?
Well, because we know that money isn't really real, especially nowadays. Like, how often do you really use cash for anything? Money is a concept, money is a symbol. But for us women, money has been historically a symbol of ownership, of powerlessness, of other people controlling us. So, I would say if you talk to kind of our generation of entrepreneurs and you ask them, did your mum work? Did your grandmother work? You only have to go up just one or two generations before women have had no power around money. They didn't earn their own money. They didn't have control over any money. And sometimes, a lot of us have got situations in our families where women felt so trapped by not having money, and they stayed in marriages or they stayed in situations because they had no choice. So really, like our generation and maybe our mothers are the first generations for a long time to start earning our own money. And it's kind of new. It's kind of new for us. And I think we've also got a lot of stories around maybe how we've seen other people in our lives have money, or even if you haven't seen anyone with money, you've got maybe a story about what greedy rich people are like. So we are kind of discovering new ways of being with money and learning to be empowered and learning to be powerful without being greedy or without being how some people in our lives might have been around money. So I think it's pretty normal that we're getting triggered by it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, if you look at what society has taught a lot of, especially women, it does make a lot of sense. Now, your own story, I mean, I talk to so many people about you because I think you're one of the few people who is really authentic and transparent about your story, and you kind of, what you teach is just so valuable, and you do it in such a practical way that I think if I tell someone how quickly you've managed to build such a successful 7-figure business, so they probably wouldn't believe me because of the traditional way of looking at business and success. Now, can you tell us a bit your story and just how did you get into doing this kind of work? And, yeah.
So it's a great story because when I ask women, what do you want to do with your life and who do you want to be? And they say, I don't know. I go, I don't believe you because it was probably how you were from a very young age. And that's how I was from a very young age. I was very entrepreneurial. I was very much into personal development and goal setting and improving myself. And I really think Oprah was a huge influence on me. She really taught me everything I needed to do to break the cycle of my family history. And so, there's no such thing as an overnight success. You have to look at the sum of all your experiences and draw on all of those experiences. And I really have for a long time. I've always strove to improve myself. I picked up my first personal development book when I was 14, and I was obsessed from there of how can I improve myself, and then how can I teach that to others. So even at university, I was a leader of my business club. I was doing public speaking from a very young age, but my money blocks got in the way from me making any money out of business or my skills until probably my late 20s, early 30s, because I spent all of my 20s kind of going in and out of, I really want to be an entrepreneur, and then who am I to do this? And, it was really tricky for a long time to give myself permission to make money from the gifts that I had, because I was like, well, that's not a real job. You can't just motivate people. And I believe that for us being entrepreneurs, it is the best time for us to be entrepreneurs, because the tools that have allowed me to grow my business and, you and your audience to grow our businesses, they didn't exist 5, 10, 15 years ago. And even, when I talk about Oprah, I always thought, oh, God, you need a TV show if you want to impact lots of people. And now we can have our own TV show. You've got YouTube and Periscope and all that kind of stuff. And so I think, being born at this time has been such a blessing for me to be able to grow my business so quickly.
Absolutely. I mean, how long have you been doing this? Like 5, 6 years?
Yeah, full time for 5 years. Yeah. But, I would say I've been coaching, speaking, training for more like 15 years.
Okay.
It just took me a long time to realize I could make a job out of it.
And you used to live in London. I remember that. And your first book that I read, actually, I started with your second book, this one, and yes. I was just completely hooked. And in the other book, you basically, for those who don't know, you Denise participated in this amazing competition and manifested a 6-month all expenses paid wedding trip with her husband around the world. And
yes.
When you were living back in London and you weren't yet where you wanted to be, what is it that kept you going, basically?
I think it's really important to cultivate a sense of destiny. And that's definitely a big secret of mine, is to always look forward to what's coming and to feel the certainty of it, and I knew that I would find my calling, and I knew that I would make a success out of it. And that can be really tricky when the reality is not quite there. Yeah. And my hubby and I were living in a small apartment, and I hated going to work every day for someone else. It just killed my soul. And I think people listening, if you're in a job and you feel the same way, you know what that's like when you get on the bus and in London, of course, you walk to the bus stop, and then you get on a bus, and then you get on a train, and then you walk, and maybe you change trains and all that kind of stuff. And it was so painful for me not living that dream life, but I knew that I had to keep one eye on the future. And I would tell myself, this is temporary, this is temporary, this is temporary. And yeah, and it is. And so if you're in that situation right now, just keep reminding yourself it's temporary, and you can move forward, but you have to just keep on making those baby steps.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's why I love your story, because it's just so, there's all these stories out there about 6 figures in 6 months, and like, I used to believe that stuff, but it can happen, but a lot of it is really about busting through your own beliefs and limitations. And one of the things I also wanted to ask you is, there are so many tools out there. I think I've tried it all, like from Ho'oponopono, how you pronounce it, to, like full moon rituals, to EFT, to God knows what. And there's all this talk about do this and then you'll achieve that. What actually works? What actually works for people to get from A, i.e. I'm broke, to B, i.e. I want to be making, 5K a month regularly?
Yeah, now my answer is going to really annoy the perfectionists.
Yes.
Because people want to know, like, what is the right answer?
Yes.
And how many times do I need to tap on each point to make it work? And tell me exactly what results I'm going to get from forgiveness work and Ho'oponopono before I do it.
Yes.
And the truth is, all of the tools work.
Yeah.
All of them do. Whether it's you look at it from a brain training point of view for the skeptics, look at it from the science point of view of how athletes train their brains with visualization. And, I even were watching football recently, and one of my boot campers sent me a video of one of the Australian captains tapping on the field.
Wow, yes.
Like during the game. And so, if you are skeptical, look at the science stuff behind it. But also, I'm a big believer in the placebo effect. So I think try everything. That's my philosophy. Try everything. Throw everything at it. Because it all works in its own way. And all you're really doing is releasing your resistance, releasing your blocks. And lots of tools work for that. And it doesn't work in a vacuum, because you do need to take action with that. But I think doing those tools, whatever they are, will help you around the resistance to taking action. So I'm a big believer in everything works. And that's the problem, though, when you have gurus going, this is the only tool that works and that one doesn't work. And I just go, no, I think they all work. So find what resonates with you. Some people really don't like EFT, and they're just like, well, I don't really like it. Like, what's going to happen to me? And I'm going, nothing. Try something else. Like, do something else. Like, don't just sit there and just go, well, that didn't work. Look for something else to help you deal with your blocks and resistance. Yeah,
there is actually no excuse for not not doing this at all.
No, and you can get all that stuff for free as well.
Yeah.
You can get EFT scripts on YouTube for any problem and ailment that you have. You can see Byron Katie talk about her work with so many different examples. You can listen to Abraham Hicks and talk about your exact problem. So, don't even feel like you just need to work with a coach. I think that's sometimes it's like you can do DIY, and sometimes you do need a professional to come in and help you.
Yeah.
Like a kinesiologist or, a hypnotherapist or something like that, or a coach or even a therapist. But, do anything. And actually, when I've got a really big goal, I do as many things as possible. Like, I don't leave stuff to chance. I'm just, I come at it from every angle, physical, mental, emotional, spiritual. I come at it from so many different angles, because I'm like, I'm not leaving this to chance. This is happening no matter what. And if one door closes, I'm going to punch through a wall, and find a different way in. Mm. And honestly, I would say that's probably been the biggest reason for my success, is because it's not that I'm like super type A, super competitive or anything like that. I'm just kind of like, okay, what's the next thing? Like, I never run out of ideas to try. And, when sometimes you get in a analysis paralysis and you're like a turtle, who's flipped over on your back, and you go, help me. But you can't. You have to help yourself, and you have to just know that there's another way, and there's always going to be something else you can try.
And that you are, I think, one of the things I learned was that you're all supported, not in a sense like the angel will come and lift me up and I can just chill on the sofa, but more like that you like you always say, the universe meets you halfway, and that's something that I think takes some time to learn. It took me some time to really learn it. But yeah, another thing I just want to say, because we will finish soon so that you can run to your next appointment, is talking about big goals. You certainly must have set yourself some big goals, because you said your goal was a millionaire by the age of 30?
I did, yeah. And I didn't do it by 30, I did it by 35. I was really, like, when I got to 28, 29 and I wasn't even close to having my own business, having an idea, I remember being so bummed by it, and I was just like, oh, well, what's wrong with me that I haven't figured this stuff out? And yeah, but I do set big goals, yeah, so.
And how did it feel to reach that seven-figure goal?
At the start of the year, I really didn't believe it was going to be possible. I'll be really honest about that. And, I'm in a mastermind of women who, half of us, at that level, and half of us are striving to it. And I think that was a big secret of that, surrounding yourself with people who have achieved that goal and made me believe it was possible. And one of the things I did was change my password to be around 1 million, and typing that in every day has just helped me so much. I just went, even if I don't believe it's possible, I'm just going to put a few things in place to help me change my mind that it is possible. And actually, someone asked me that the other day. She said, "Did you celebrate?" And I went, "I kind of didn't. Like, I sent a text to a friend who is not an entrepreneur, and I just said, oh, hey, I just want to share something with you." But it felt just kind of like, oh, cool, I've done that. Like, that's kind of cool, and not as hard as I thought. And yeah, business is normal. Yeah.
Amazing. I think, just to round this up, this is really so much more than just money mindset. This is really about possibilities and expanding your horizons about what's possible, because I'm sure 5-6 years ago you probably didn't think you'd, you consciously might want something, but then you're like, what, I might actually just reach the million. That's incredible. And I think just what you've achieved in such a short time, I think it just shows that, people are, especially women, tend to underestimate, I think, a lot of their potential and what they can achieve. Yeah.
Absolutely. I think we overestimate the work that it's going to take and underestimate the mindset shifts that it needs to take, because that's all it really is. Yeah. And I think we sometimes get caught up in the story of, well, I have to be thinner, I have to be prettier, I have to be smarter, I have to work harder, all this kind of stuff. And so we totally overestimate that type of work. But then we underestimate, the mental games that we play with ourselves, the blocks and resistance that we face, and sometimes, we think it's going to take more than it does, and you just need to be a little bit more courageous than you think, a little bit more courageous than you were yesterday. It doesn't require perfection. It really doesn't. And I think the last thing I want to say is it actually isn't about the money, and that was the hardest lesson, was because for years I thought it was the money was the goal, and now I realize that money is just the tool to help you live the life that you want to live, not necessarily what other people want to live. And that's an interesting lesson, right? Because you spend so much time thinking it is the money, and it's not.
Beautiful. Interesting. Lots of different amazing insights here. Thank you so much, Denise. I think we'll close it here. I think I could ask you lots and lots more questions, but
absolutely, I could talk forever as well.
I know. I think those of you who are watching and who don't know Denise, just check her out on www.luckybitch.com, and then you can find out more about Denise and the amazing work that she does. Thanks so much, Denise.
Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome.